Xtalks connects professionals in the life science, medical device, and food industries with useful content like webinars, job openings, articles, and virtual meetings to help you succeed in your career. This food industry-focused podcast brings together some of our editorial staff to share insights into the latest B2B industry news to help keep you up to date.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Xtalks Food Podcast. I'm Sydney Perlmutter, Senior Food Industry Journalist and Webinar Moderator at Xtalks.com, and this week I'm joined by Aisha Rashid and Vera Kovacevic. Thank you so much, both of you, for coming today. So I'm going to start us off with a story about a company called Good Measures, and it's made a significant leap forward by showcasing the positive outcomes of its Good Food Prescription program in its first year, and I'll get into what that is in a sec. So this program, which is designed to combat diet-related conditions, combines expert clinical coaching, personalized meal planning, and medically tailored grocery deliveries in partnership with Instacart. So this was a company that was founded with a vision to revolutionize the intersection of nutrition and health management. It has established itself as a leader in digital nutrition solutions. It also leverages the expertise of licensed clinicians across all 50 states, and it offers a unique approach that combines clinical coaching, cutting-edge technology, and personalized food prescriptions to improve health outcomes and address the social drivers of health. By partnering with health plans, government programs, including Medicare and Medicaid, employers, providers, and care management companies, Good Measures is dedicated to making a meaningful impact on public health. So I'll talk a little bit about its Good Food Prescription program. It launched in December 2022, and it celebrated its first year with notable success. In collaboration with 6 health plans, the program has demonstrated impressive improvements in participants' health. So for instance, 68% of those who received medically tailored groceries saw better or stable blood pressure levels. And especially for those with stage 2 hypertension, the program reported average blood pressure reductions of 10.6%, systolic and 13.4% diastolic. And moreover, 72% of members either lost weight or maintained their weight with an average weight loss of 4.5 pounds. Now, the CEO of Good Measures, Donna K. Lunke, said in a press release, "It's gratifying to see our comprehensive, fully integrated, personalized nutrition solutions having a measurable impact on the crisis of diet-related disease in this country. When the food that gets delivered to your doorstep is personalized to your health condition and cultural preferences and support through one-on-one clinical coaching, it clearly leads to sustained change and improved health outcomes." Now, the program's success largely owes to Good Measures' patented technology, which provides personalized condition-specific meal plans, and Instacart's healthcare Cart's technology supports these plans, facilitating easy access to healthier food options. Dietitian coaches also play a vital role by offering regular check-ins, screening for food insecurity, and connecting members with vital resources to promote health equity. The program's introduction of medically tailored groceries has significantly increased member engagement. Compared to those not receiving food deliveries, engaged members used the Good Measures digital platform 22% more and attended 32% more coaching sessions. So this engagement is vital for health plans looking for tangible benefits from food-based interventions. So we talked about the food as medicine sector in a podcast from maybe last year, but this is a sector that's expanding with numerous entities recognizing the critical role of nutrition in health. And now, despite competitions from companies like Food Smart and medically tailored meal services like Mom's Meals, Good Measures stands out. Its integrated approach combines technology, personalized nutrition, and clinical support, setting a new benchmark in addressing diet-related health issues. As Good Measures and Instacart plan to expand the Good Food Prescription program, they lead the food as medicine movement. Their innovative approach not only serves as a model for effective health management, but also highlights the potential of technology and personalized nutrition in advancing public health. So I wanted to cover this story because it was kind of combining, food, which I typically write about, but also healthcare, since they call it, the Good Food Prescription Program. And I specifically wanted to talk about this story on the podcast because I wanted to get your thoughts on, this program and programs like this that are using these, personalized prescription or meal services that are tailored for people with certain, health related, diet related issues. Now, my question is, do you think that this is a good thing, or do you think that it's sort of a bit of like a failure on the part of, the education system? Like, is it a good thing that people are needing to be prescribed meal plans rather than just knowing what's good, for themselves? Because food is one of those things that it certainly can be used as medicine to prevent, certain illnesses. But once people have certain illnesses, is it a little too late at that point?
I don't think it's too late because a lot of metabolic conditions, as we know, are reversible, thankfully, like diabetes, controlling hypertension. So, and the impact of diet on some of these conditions is pretty well known. So I think there is definitely value. I'm just kind of somewhere failing to understand what the difference between this and, let's say, consulting a nutritionist would be. I think it's the same idea, but I just think the way that this plan has been packaged and marketed, I think it gives it a new twist of sorts, but I think the fundamentals are the same. If somebody is diagnosed with diabetes, often they will be referred to a nutritionist if they need help with their diet planning, given that they have this new condition that they need to deal with and modify their diet in accordance. So I think the idea isn't new per se. I just think the packaging is a bit new. So it's kind of like, old wine in a new bottle kind of a scenario. But I think it's definitely a good way to bring greater awareness about good food, essentially, in your diet. And to your question about has perhaps the education system maybe failed here, and that's why we're needing to see these kinds of programs, possibly so. And I think but then granted, there have been a lot of changes to the food pyramids and nutrition guidelines in the last couple of decades. So I think people might also be confused, like what's good for you every day. Things seem to be changing. And then with social media, it's like, oh, well, this is good for you today and that's not good for you tomorrow. So I think amalgamating all that information into one program like this, it does make sense. And I think it can definitely be beneficial for some people. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely agree with everything you said, Aisha, but I think this program is designed specifically for people who have, correct me if I'm wrong, Sydney, but people who have certain metabolic conditions, like perhaps high blood pressure. We all know what foods are good for us. We've been taught the food pyramid, and we know everything in moderation is generally good for most people. But I think people with certain conditions like high blood pressure, for example, they may not know what they can eat, right? Or how much of it they can eat. So I think this program can really help those people. And I think another thing is that it's really amazing how they actually followed up with people to see the actual impacts of this program. And another thing, even though people can consult a nutritionist, for example, it's actually going the extra mile to actually buy these groceries and prepare the food. And I think if they just have it delivered to them through Instacart, I think that can actually help get people started on the right path to eating the right foods. Because if the food is being delivered to you, I personally feel like it's so much easier to get started on the process instead of just going to a nutritionist or a dietitian and just talking to them, right? So I think this program has a lot of value.
Yeah, I think that would be the main difference between, consulting a nutritionist, because that is something, that it would require a bit more, effort on the patient's end, just because they would then have to, do the grocery shopping, find everything, and just it involves just more decision making, I would say, on someone's end. Whereas I think this program takes a lot of the decisions making out of it and just like simplifies the process a bit. I think my question about the failure of the education system was more about like, is it kind of sad that people need prescriptions for food, and that they can't, or they, haven't up to this point figured out, what's good for them. I am glad that this exists, and I also don't think it's too late, but I think, does it also somewhat maybe take advantage of people, depending on how expensive it is. And I know they are partnered with Medicare and Medicaid, but not everyone has access to that. So that was kind of my question there. Does that change your perspective a bit?
I would say, I think maybe not, because not everyone is diagnosed with these conditions, right? So if a normal, healthy person knows generally what's good to eat, but say if they're diagnosed with something like hypertension or diabetes, that is, generally not something that you're maybe taught in school about, right? Or in general, that information may not be widely available. It's only when you're faced with that certain condition that you're going to need a more tailored diet. So I think in that context, this makes sense, because when you're handed a prescription, you don't necessarily know what that drug is for, because you've never faced it before, potentially. And I think the same case, or potentially faced that condition before. So I think with anything new, you do need the guidance and the support. And I think this is, definitely a great program overall. And of course, the partnership with Instacart to have those foods and groceries delivered to you, that definitely is the plus point of this program, for sure, 100%. And that does set it apart, of course, from consulting with a nutritionist. My other concern, though, is for people living in food deserts. They could be introduced to this program, but they may not have access necessarily to those foods in areas where they don't have fresh produce available. So that's kind of a concern there, but it's an overarching problem with access to healthcare as well as food. And like you said, food, and let food be thy medicine, but does everyone have access to that?
Yeah, Sydney, I wanted to ask you, can you talk a little bit more about who can qualify for this program, and the pricing? How is the pricing covered again? I know you mentioned Medicare and Medicaid services, but I just wasn't sure. Can the ordinary American qualify, or do you need to get a referral from a doctor or something?
That is an excellent question. Okay, I need to look this up.
So Sydney, I wanted to know more about who can qualify for this program, and what is the coverage like for this program?
Yeah, that's a great question. It actually works, very similarly to just getting any other medical prescription. So it is working with Medicaid and Medicare and most commercial health plans and employer groups since early last year. So yeah, it's pretty similar to regular medications. As to who could qualify, I think, that's kind of up to, it works similarly to medications. So.
Great. So it's up to the healthcare provider to talk about it with their patient.
Mm-hmm.
And the insurance companies to decide if they're going to cover it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And since it's a relatively new, sector as a whole, this whole food is medicine thing, since probably last year, or probably in the last 5 years, I would say, hopefully it's becoming a more common item or items to cover, because it is a relatively new sector. And I also don't think that it's just for people that already have existing conditions. It could probably also be, I'm sure some companies that offer these types of services are more preventative as well. So I think those ones are maybe a little bit more trying to take advantage of what people don't know about, their health and their diet. But I think this is an excellent program, and it can hopefully help people, get back on track in terms of their health. All right, so moving on to our next story, and this is a fun one. In the food industry, the power of advertising is undeniable. Food ads play a crucial role in shaping our choices and influencing our dining habits and, of course, driving sales. However, there's a fine line between enticing marketing and misleading information, and that line can sometimes blur, which leads to controversies and legal action. And this dynamic has propelled misleading ad lawsuits into the spotlight recently, with several high-profile cases raising questions about the integrity of food marketing and its impact on consumer trust. The food industry has seen an uptick in misleading advertisement lawsuits, a trend that underscores the growing scrutiny from consumers and regulatory bodies alike. And as food advertisements become more pervasive across various forms of media, the potential for misleading claims about product quality, ingredients, and health benefits also increases. And this heightened awareness is partially due to the more informed and health-conscious consumer base, alongside the rise of digital platforms that amplify the reach and impact of advertisements. And such developments have led to a more vigilant stance against deceptive marketing practices, pushing for transparency and honesty in food advertising. So I'm going to talk about some recent misleading food ads that led to lawsuits, as well as their outcomes. The first one involved McDonald's, Wendy's, Burger King, and Taco Bell. So recent lawsuits have highlighted a significant disconnect between the advertised and actual sizes of products from fast food giants, the fast food giants that I mentioned. Consumers felt misled by promotional images that depicted products as larger and more laden with ingredients than what was served. This case underscores the growing concern of food styling and its role in creating potentially unrealistic expectations about food portions, leading to questions about the ethical boundaries of food advertisements. So sometimes you'll see, under an image, you'll see, product enlarged to just enhance the appeal of the image, but sometimes that's not there. But this was it turned out to be a legal victory for McDonald's and Wendy's. A U.S. district judge concluded that the visually appealing presentation of food in the chain's promotional images did not constitute false advertising. The judge pointed out that the nutritional information, including the weight and calorie content of the meals, was clearly provided on respective websites. And this decision rebutted the plaintiff's allegation that the ad suggested a higher quality of food than was actually served, and that undercooked burger patties were intentionally shown to look larger and more appealing. Now, the second lawsuit I'm going to talk about involves Starbucks. So it faced criticism and legal action with its Refreshers lineup, accused of misleading consumers by suggesting that the drinks contained real fruit corresponding to their names, when in fact they did not. In August 2022, Joan Cominis from New York City and Jason McAllister of California initiated a class action lawsuit against Starbucks, seeking $5 million in damages. And they specifically targeted 6 Starbucks Refreshers beverages, including the Mango Dragon Fruit Lemonade, Strawberry Acai Lemonade, and Pineapple Passion Fruit Lemonade. So the complaint highlighted that these drinks did not actually contain the advertised mango, acai berry, or passion fruit, among other fruits. According to the plaintiffs, the beverages were made from water, grape juice, concentrate, and sugar, which significantly deviated from other Starbucks products that genuinely included the advertised flavors and ingredients. So this ongoing case taps into the broader issue of using evocative names and imagery in food ads to imply natural and wholesome ingredients, potentially misleading customers about the product's true composition. Next, we'll talk about Subway. Similarly to the first case, in 2013, Subway was embroiled in a lawsuit after a customer discovered that the chain's foot-long sandwich fell short of the 12 inches implied by its name. Subway opted to resolve the lawsuit with a settlement of approximately $500,000, the majority of which was allocated to the plaintiff's attorneys alongside minor adjustments in Subway's operational practices, including enhanced disclosure for consumers. Initially, there was skepticism regarding Subway's ability to settle a significant lawsuit at such a modest amount. However, as more information became available, it appeared that the plaintiffs were fortunate to receive any compensation at all. So the case spotlighted the expectations set by product names in food ads and the reality of standard product variations. It raised some questions about accuracy and consistency in food labeling, advertising, pushing for more precise representation of product sizes. Next, we'll talk about Pop-Tarts. So in 2020, Kellogg was sued over allegations that its strawberry Pop-Tarts contained more non-strawberry ingredients than suggested by the product's name, challenging the authenticity of flavor claims in food ads. The lawsuit was ultimately dismissed, though, due to insufficient evidence from the plaintiff that the product's packaging was misleading. Calvin Brown, who filed the lawsuit, argued that the packaging of strawberry Pop-Tarts misleadingly suggests that strawberries are the sole fruit ingredient in the filling, but in reality, the Pop-Tarts in question actually contain a mix of strawberries, pears, and apples in their filling. Now, this lawsuit reflects broader concerns about ingredient transparency and the accuracy of product descriptions, urging companies to ensure that their product labels and ads align with the actual product content. And then lastly, I'll talk about Wegmans. So it's not just fast food or, consumer product goods that are involved. A grocery store was also involved in a lawsuit. So in 2016, grocery chain Wegmans faced legal action for marketing its vanilla-flavored ice cream without containing real vanilla. So this would mean no vanilla bean or extract or paste. And while the case highlighted the complexities of flavor labeling in food ads, it was also dismissed in 2020 by a U.S. district judge. So he concluded that the plaintiff's analysis might not have been adequately sensitive to all indicators of vanilla, thus failing to demonstrate the absence of vanilla in the product. The judge also raised doubts about the deceptive nature of the ice cream label, noting that neither the label nor the list of ingredients specified the use of vanilla bean extract or paste. He highlighted that upon inquiry, the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, or FDA, might not have confirmed the product's labeling as compliant with existing regulations for flavor and ice cream labeling. This case delves into the expectations set by the term vanilla flavored and the importance of clear and accurate ingredient disclosure in upholding consumer trust and meeting these regulatory standards. The surge in misleading ad lawsuits in the food industry serves as a crucial reminder of the need for transparency and integrity in marketing practices. As consumers become increasingly savvy and regulatory bodies more vigilant, the industry has to navigate the fine line between creative advertising and misleading information more carefully than ever. The future of food ads lies in embracing honesty, clarity, and consumer engagement, ensuring that marketing practices not only drive sales, but also foster trust and sophistication among consumers. So what I found interesting about, these lawsuits is that for the most part, the companies ended up winning, or the cases ended up being dismissed, or settling for, a relatively small amount in Subway's case. And I wanted to know, from you guys, which of these cases do you think was the most legitimate, and which do you think should not have been filed in the first place?
That's such a good question, Sydney, because I was going to say, in my opinion, the one that really stuck out to me was the complaint about, the whole Wendy's, McDonald's, Burger King, Taco Bell. I mean, who hasn't gone to one of these restaurants and thought, oh, what I got is not, on their poster, right? It's so common. I was just so normalized to that. I never even expected that what I'm going to get is going to look as great as what's on the poster. Do you agree? Is it just me? I'm just trying to be realistic here.
Realistic. I think definitely these companies have tapered our expectations of what we like receive versus like the actual images on their posters and advertisements. But I mean, they often do have disclaimers that, objects may appear larger than life or something like that. So I'm surprised some of them didn't have that, or is that the case? Okay, so yeah, I think they probably did it at some point in time, and then they just maybe like, decided to forego it because it's kind of a given that what you see is not what you're going to get because we've just been conditioned as such. And like food photography is such a huge industry, like making that burger look perfect and stuff like that. So I think the average consumer hopefully is kind of aware of that. But yeah, so that was an interesting one, actually. Yeah. But the one that really stuck out to me was the Subway footlong because I never thought of actually measuring, like taking out a measuring tape and measuring like the sub, but it makes sense to do so, right? It's like we just take their word for it. And I wonder how off it was. I'd like to know. But
yeah, that's a good question. I think I just guessing, but I think it was off by about 2 inches.
That's actually pretty significant. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I was going to mention in the story, but I'll mention it now, that Subway's actually been involved in another food lawsuit. I'm sure one that we've all heard of. That was
I think I've heard. Yeah.
The tuna one. So their tuna was, or were you thinking of the chicken one?
No, I was thinking of their bread.
The bread. Yeah. Okay. So it's not just
not
one
even
other.
Like classified, like it shouldn't be classified as bread because it has too much sugar in it. So
yeah, there was that one too.
One, yeah.
These other
Subway
ones
is like messing around here.
I know for the tuna one, so basically their tuna was accused of not being 100% tuna. It was fillers and whatnot. That case was ultimately dismissed as well. I'm not too sure about the other ones the bread one. But yeah, Subway's definitely been involved in several lawsuits, and the one that stood out to me for being, I would say, the most legitimate of all of the ones I talked about was probably the Starbucks refresher one, in which Starbucks advertised these flavors, but they didn't actually contain the fruit, that they had mentioned in the name of the drink. And also along with that, in the ads for the refreshers, that fruit was featured prominently. So as a consumer, you would think that those fruit would be in the drink. Is it worth $5 million? I don't know. Personally, I don't think so, but I understand that one, I would say the most of all of them. I think that one has the most legitimacy. And I think it's very easy to amend that because, yeah, I just think it's easy to amend that. You just go a little less hard on the fruit in the ads, because something can still be,
pop up a syrup bottle.
Yeah, it can be flavored without containing the actual fruit, and I think that's the case here.
I do remember some of their drinks did have pieces of fruit. I forget that one drink. Yeah, so yeah, and I think maybe over time they just for some of their drinks got rid of those. I don't know, but yeah, that is, I would say that's pretty legitimate too, to claim that you have fruit in something that doesn't have fruit. And I think we've learned that about a lot of foods, right? Like fruit juices even, and a lot of products. And I think, yeah, like Vera said, I think we've just gotten so conditioned and used to, having these foods not being what they are, and we just accept it. So, I mean, filing lawsuits and all of that may seem extreme, but I think these companies should be held accountable for sure for false advertising. I think if you're claiming something on your label, it has to be legit. You cannot make false claims. And yeah, maybe it's time that they are held to a higher standard, or to a standard. It's your stuff should have what you claim is in it. So I think it's a good learning lesson, these lawsuits and things. I don't think these companies per se are going to learn from it, but if more and more of these start piling up, maybe they will have to sit up and take notice.
Yeah. It's interesting because, a lot of it is really up to interpretation. I think we, just because the three of us are sort of desensitized and we know whether to question, we know when to question things. I think a lot of people don't, or they just have too much time on their hands and, are willing to.
Jaded,
Yeah. So, because in fact, for the Pop-Tart case that I talked about, I didn't mention this in the article, but Calvin Brown, who was the person that filed the lawsuit, apparently he has filed around 400 lawsuits involving false advertising. So
Wow.
I think he's made
serious.
that his full-time job.
Yeah.
I don't know how much success he's had. I only know
Yeah.
about this Pop-Tart case, but he's filed a lot of lawsuits and he's made it, his job to really hold companies accountable. Whether, the lawsuits are all valid, that's for judges to decide, but it's kind of tough to see where some of the plaintiffs are coming from in some of these cases, and kind of tough to, see where some companies are coming from in these cases. So
I wonder if there are any class action lawsuits involving big numbers or larger numbers of people or groups and things like that.
Yeah, I think some of these are class action lawsuits.
Okay.
I'm not sure how many there of these are, but I know in general, there are some class action lawsuits involving advertising. And I really don't know what the success rate is like for those, and how much individuals would actually, get from those as well. Because if there are so many people and only a couple mil to go around, then, who knows?
Yeah. And then it's kind of like, what are the motivations behind it? Is it like you said, Sydney, like these consumers, it's hard to know per se what they're after. Is it the money, or is it about the principle, right? Or is it both? I don't know. But yeah, the principle, I think should come out on top. And hopefully these companies may learn a lesson or two. I kind of have a feeling they won't. The pessimist in me kind of feels they won't, but we can keep talking like how we are talking today. So I think, just building awareness and being more aware and holding companies to account is important.
All right. Well, that's the end of this episode of the Xtalks Food Podcast. If you like today's show, don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe. Thanks, everyone, and see you next week. Bye.
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 Thanks for listening to the Xtalks Food Industry Podcast. If you enjoyed our discussions today, please share the episode with your friends and colleagues, and be sure to subscribe in order to be notified when a new episode is released. To join in on the discussion, you can find Xtalks on social media, email podcast@xtalks.com, or comment on the articles directly. Links are in the show description. Take a moment to join our community at xtalks.com to get access to everything we have to offer, including webinars, job listings, virtual meetings, articles, and more. The views and opinions expressed in the podcast are those of the speakers sharing them. They should not be taken as professional advice and do not necessarily reflect the policy or position Honeycomb Worldwide. For further information, email us at podcast@xtalks.com. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next week.